this is the Progressive Cynic, and in this video I will be discussing how more Americans are killed by guns domestically than in every war the United States has ever fought. Now, on December 21st of last year, Mark Shields, a PBS contributor, made an extremely good point. I'll be showing you a clip of this point right now.
Judy, the reality is, and it's a terrible reality, since Robert Kennedy died in the Ambassador Hotel on June 4th, 1968, more Americans have died from gunfire than died in all the wars of this country's history, from the Revolutionary through the Civil War, World War I, World War II. In those 43 years, we have half the guns that are in the world are in the United States.
Long story short, he's entirely correct. According to the Congressional Research Service, 1,171,177 Americans have been killed in wars that the United States has fought. This includes every war from the Revolutionary War to the Afghanistan War. Mind you, this number is still growing as the Afghanistan War is kind of still going on. The numbers may be a bit off because it doesn't include non-military casualties that occur in times where we're not actually declared at war, like contractors in Iraq right now. The war is not going on, and technically we don't have military troops in there, but we have a bunch of people who we are hiring as private military troops. But the number is still extremely large. Now, this number compares to the 1,384,171 Americans who've been killed domestically with guns in the last 43 years. To save you a little bit of math, this means that 118% of the Americans who were killed in war were killed with guns. Now, I know that a bunch of gun enthusiasts are going to be saying, oh, but it's not a fair comparison. You can't compare domestic murder rates to war casualties because, I mean, the United States is big, we're highly populated, and also it's just not fair because a lot of things are different. Well, okay. I'm not going to try to placate these people because it really doesn't matter what information you give them. They're going to hold on to their guns anyways. That said, the one argument that could hold up against this is the fact that it is not a perfect comparison because the gun murders are not the only things that cause Americans to be killed by guns. There are also accidents and suicides, and those are not a direct comparison to war. In fact, many suicides are American troops who are coming back from war, so there's a little issue with causality there. Now, I've stripped both accidents and suicides out of the statistics, and I'll give you a direct comparison between gun murders domestically and gun deaths, or deaths by American soldiers abroad. In the years between 1993 and 2012, 253,618 Americans have been murdered with guns domestically. This makes an average of around 12,102 Americans each year. Now, according to the American War and Military Operations document for the Congressional Research Service, we have a breakdown of all the different casualties in all of the different American wars. These are the official casualty counts for the wars that is used by the United States government. I have broken down each of these numbers and translated them into the amount of time it would take for the average American gun casualty per year to reach that number. For example, in 11 days, 13 hours of peace in the United States, we rack up a casualty count due to gun murders higher than the Persian Gulf War's entire casualty count. In 65 days and 14 hours, we surpassed the Afghanistan War death count. In 68 days, 4 hours, we surpassed the War of 1812 death count. In 73 days, 18 hours, we surpassed the Spanish-American War death count. In 133 days, 18 hours, we surpassed the Revolutionary War death count. 135 days, 7 hours, Iraq War. 1 year, 35 days, 15 hours, Mexican War. 3 years, 8 days, 2 hours, Korean War. 4 years, 295 days, 22 hours, Vietnam War. 9 years, 229 days, 4 hours, World War I. 39 years, 181 days, 23 hours, World War II. 43 years, 139 days, 4 hours, Civil War, which includes both Union and Confederate casualties because they were technically both Americans. Now, these numbers are horrible, and it also illustrates just how many wars the United States has been in, which is another issue, but it's also a severe issue. That's not the subject of this video. Now, in an average year of peace, more Americans are killed than in Revolutionary War, War of 1812, Spanish-American War, Persian Gulf War, Afghanistan War, and Iraq War. On a bad year, it can also supersede the Mexican War death count. That's shocking. To make things worse, I've actually calculated it out so that I've determined when the Iraq and Afghanistan wars surpass when the American domestic death count due to gun violence surpasses the death tolls in Afghanistan and Iraq. That is July 19th at 6 p.m. 200.75 days into the year. Now, during the rest of the year, American murderers are able to rack up a death count that is over 1,000 more Americans than died in Persian Gulf and the Revolutionary Wars combined. In 1 year, more Americans are killed than in the combined death tolls of the Revolutionary War, Persian Gulf War, Afghanistan, and Iraq. And we're in a state of peace? Is anyone going to try to claim that? I mean, it's shocking. And you might say, oh, but that's because the weapons have changed. Yeah, weapons have changed. They've become more deadly. And it's much easier for people to kill other people with guns. That's why we need more gun control. Because in the Revolutionary War, death tolls were relatively low compared to what they could have been because they didn't have automatic weapons capable of shooting 100 musket balls in a minute. Every 1,756 days, which translates to 4.8 years, more Americans are killed domestically than in Vietnam. This is pretty amazing, particularly considering that Vietnam military boots-on-the-ground involvement by the United States lasted about 8 years. Now, on November 11th, 2013, more Americans will have been murdered by American domestic shooters than who died in Vietnam since Obama's election in 2008. This means that on November 12th, Obama will have presided over a death toll larger than the entire Vietnam War. This isn't to say it's a direct comparison. It's not. It's just shocking that such a death toll can be so ignored, while the death toll of Vietnam was such a large topic when it was still happening. If we had an external enemy who was causing the amount of damage that we are to ourselves, it would be an unbelievable scandal, and we would have investigations in the legislature about how we can improve the safety of our troops, and we would have massive pushes to support the people who are in harm's way. But no, we're all in harm's way, and it's going underneath the radar. Finally, This is probably the most shocking of all. Outside of World War II and the Civil War, 240,778 Americans have died in wars that have died in basically every war. Now, this is truly tragic, but more Americans have been killed due to gun violence in the last 20 years. That number is over 250,000. In the last 20 years, we've sustained more casualties domestically than in every war other than our two most damaging. Okay. And as a slightly unrelated topic, but just an interesting statistic, in the last 16 years, more Americans have been killed by domestic gun violence than nuclear weapons have killed in their entire history. Nagasaki and Hiroshima averaged around 100,000 casualties each. It was 200,000 casualties total, divided by two bombs. It's kind of hard to get the exact specifics based upon the cities themselves because they were absolutely obliterated. These are the most recent estimates by Yale. This means that we have one nuclear bomb's worth of gun deaths every 8 years, 3 months. 100,000 Americans dead. Yeah. Now look, this is a terrible situation, and there's no easy fix. Our politics are paralyzed by a gun lobby which has way too much power. People are largely incapable of getting our representatives to act in our best interests because we don't have the money on our side. And the media only pays attention when there's a school shooting or another horrible crime that absolutely cannot be ignored. So, really, what do? We have to be activists, we need to vote, we need to ensure that our voices are heard. Money cannot buy elections. It can buy propaganda, and it can buy access. What we need to do is we need to punish politicians who refuse to vote in all of our best interest. We need to vote out people who support gun anarchy and vote in people who are sane. In short, take the NRA's gun rating, invert it, and vote out everyone who is who's highly supported by the NRA. This is not going to be a quick fight. It's going to take many years. It's going to be very tedious, and it's going to be difficult. But what are we going to do? We live in a slightly better organized war zone right now. I mean, just today, 13 people were shot on a basketball court in Chicago. Last week, of course, we had the Navy shooting. A couple months ago, we've had the Sandy Hook shooting, the Aurora school shooting, the Aurora movie theater shooting. It's a never-ending cycle of violence that just keeps hitting us. Every couple months, we have another mass shooting, and every day we have around 30 deaths due to gun murders. And those never reach the ears of the American public. It's all regionalized. Like a city may have one or two, another city may have like a couple more. We don't always get the big picture. Thank you. This has been the Progressive Cynic.